All right, there we go. Hi, everybody. We are late. I've got 3 messages from people telling me that we were not live. Just so you know, it was my fault. My name is Brittany. This is the Skyline Circle. This is where the Keystone Network highlights amazing business owners, and I am honored to be just a part of this group today. We have Chase, we have Dominic, and we have Steve. They are all going to have some time to introduce who they are and what they are about. So I'm super excited. Please put questions in the comments because we will use that after everybody has introduced themselves. And Chase is joining us from Spain. So super excited. He gets to go first. It's midnight. Chase, go ahead. Tell us about yourself and what you are creating inside of this amazing company.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate you putting this together. Yeah, it's a little past midnight, so forgive me if I'm not on my A game. This is a new pivot and journey for me. I've just moved my family about 2 weeks ago to Spain. I used to live in Los Angeles for the last 20 years. And I think this is pretty much a byproduct of practicing what I preach. So my background is in entertainment, storytelling, media. I used to be a director, writer, and producer for independent film and television shows before I sold out and went to the branding and marketing side. But still love to tell a great story. And I believe that is the crux of what brands and businesses need today to kind of cut through the noise. When I introduce myself, I like to kind of start with my why, right? So my core belief is that every person and every business has the ability to do good and do well, all right, to profit with purpose. We are in not a trend, but I think a movement in sort of conscious consumerism, stakeholder-driven capitalism, whatever you want to call it, where there are far too many competitors and commoditized competition out there. Whether you're a product or a service, how is a consumer supposed to tell you apart from the pack? And I'm a firm believer that your core purpose, your core beliefs, your core values, your reason for being, your mission is actually one of the greatest positioning powers that you have as a business and a brand, and not enough of us are sharing that story. So now kind of what I do, I've run a digital marketing branding agency for the last 10 years called Vanquish Media Group. We serve a variety of impact-driven companies, from education to nonprofit to entertainment and media. And I consult and coach private clients, anywhere from first-time entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, to 20-year-old businesses trying to kind of redesign and pivot their brand and their messaging. Doesn't really matter what you call me: brand coach, fractional CMO, marketing coach, whatever it might be. It doesn't really matter. It's how we get there. But again, at its core, this is about helping people build a strong foundation and identity as a brand that cuts through the noise, that tells their story, that connects with their divine right customer, and brings a little bit of joy back to what we do. You know, as entrepreneurs and business owners, we spend our entire lives, we don't really have an off switch, working, hustling, to do good for ourselves and for our customers. And if you're not enjoying the journey, what are we doing here? If you're not really enjoying the process, you're just kind of delaying gratification towards a later stage in life. Again, hence the reason I've kind of moved my family to a new location, a new locale, a dream of mine that I've had for many, many years. And instead of saying one day, if and when, I said, why not now? You know, for me, my purpose is helping others find their purpose and transform it into the businesses and lifestyles they've been dreaming of. So that's a little bit about my philosophy around brand building, around business building. You know, again, I believe that purpose is the greatest positioning power that we have. When you can be a magnetic force for your customer by simply being your authentic self, by simply sharing your values, by simply sharing what you believe in beyond the bottom line, you're no longer playing in a game that is a race to the bottom in terms of, you know, whatever you want to call it, marketing, 4 Ps, right? lowest price and best product and best positioning, that's a finite game. There's only a few that can win in that race, right? And when you can win and build brand loyalty that lasts a lifetime instead of just merely transactional, that is something that is incredibly powerful. So that's a little bit of a summary of me. How much time do I have, Brittany? I have a little more time to go, right? Or
I'm on mute. You have a lot of time. You're good.
okay, cool.
Keep
So I can
going.
dig
Tell
into
us
it.
about,
All right,
yeah, dig into it.
here we go. So I have a curriculum and a framework that I like to work with my clients, and I'll kind of share with you all today. This is born out of years and years and years of coaching and consulting clients and helping them build their businesses. I believe that business needs to look at development and growth in 3 key stages, right? Discovery, identity, and growth. Okay. Discovery comes first intentionally. That is discovering who you are as a business, who you are as a brand, asking yourself, why do I exist? What do I believe in? What do I stand for as a brand? Who do I connect to, right? Who are my aligned customers and audiences? Who's my competition? And how do I fit in that white space, in that gap to differentiate myself? How do I tell my story? Until you can answer those questions, you need to pump the brakes in terms of saying, how do I get more leads, more followers, more site visits, more whatever the vanity metric is, right? My clients come to me all the time and asking for the ends, but they're not really focusing on the means. They're not focusing on what matters most to get them there. And if you are not completely clear with who you are, who you're targeting, how you're transforming their lives with your business or product or service, your clients certainly won't be. And you can pour as much time and energy and ad dollars as you want into these ads, into the social media efforts, into content marketing, into webinars. But unless you're telling that clear and coherent story, something that you truly believe in, because customers will call, I don't know if we're allowed to curse on this or not, but it's midnight here. They'll call bullshit, right? Unless you are clear on that, then you don't have a hope in terms of attracting a consistent flow of your ideal right customer. So the first phase of what you need to focus on really is brand discovery. What we work on is what we call a brand blueprint, and it's exactly what it sounds like. This is a blueprint. This is a roadmap for who you are, where you want to go, and how you're going to get there. I'm a firm believer in measure twice, cut once. Before you, again, commit time and energy and money and resources towards trying to achieve the thing, whatever the thing is for you and your business, you've got to have that blueprint in place. You've got to have complete clarity. So that is discovery. That is discovering who you are, why you exist, what you stand for. All right. So once you've had that foundation, right? Like the foundation of a home, you're not going to put up the scaffolding and the window dressing until you have a strong base. You've got to have that in place. Then we move into identity. All right. We know who we are. We know who we serve. Identity is all about how you begin to show up in the world under that message, right? Within that sort of paradigm, within that framework. And that can be a website, and that can be a logo, and that can be a visual identity system, and that can be content and brand storytelling, right? But it has to echo that same narrative, that clear, consistent, and compelling narrative from that discovery phase, okay? And that's kind of what comes next. A lot of people think a brand is a logo. A lot of people think a brand is a color or a font. It's not what it is. I mean, sure, it's pieces of it. A brand is what people's perception of you seems to be, right? It is a combination of things. So a brand is bigger than you. A brand is bigger than your audience. But you still need to have a consistent visual message that accompanies, right, your brand foundation. So that's identity. And we build websites, and we build brand decks, and we build brand storytelling videos, long form documentaries, or whatever you want to call it. And once you have that collateral, then and only then should you then start to go to market, so to speak, or amplify that message and share it with the world. And that's that third phase that I mentioned, growth, right? That's where you start to pour fuel on the fire. And that is when you begin to share your identity and your purpose with the world. And that is a variety of different marketing tactics, right? We all know kind of what most of those things are. That's social media, that's advertising, that's content marketing and webinars, but unless you are following that cadence, you are going to consistently chase sort of empty and diminishing returns. And I've seen it time and time and time again. So that's kind of a broad framework of what I do and how I work. I've recently launched a podcast called In Pursuit of Purpose. I think it's really mostly therapy for myself, selfishly. A storytelling of my journey, my missteps, my failures, my setbacks, my burnout, because what I'm sharing with you now wasn't kind of a light bulb a moment for me. And it certainly wasn't something that someone shared with me when I started out, right? I made almost every mistake you can make in the book, right? I didn't have a guide. I didn't have a mentor, a coach. I certainly wish I did. But what I have learned by not only serving others, but by building my own business, and quite frankly, for the first number of years in sort of the wrong direction, right? By saying yes to a lot of things that were misaligned and weren't really quite fulfilling or what I wanted to do and be in life. It led me towards burnout. It led me towards sort of a malaise and sort of a disconnect. And it forced me to ask myself who I wanted to serve and how, right? Why I'm showing up in the world, what was my kind of unique strength and genius, and where I could potentially serve people, society, the world best, right? So that's kind of my podcast, but it's really aimed at entrepreneurs seeking that are tired of this hustle culture, that are tired of subscribing to another person's version of success, that are tired of subscribing to pretty rote, one-dimensional frameworks and formulas, the sort of 10x your business, right? We've all seen it, and I've subscribed to many of these things. It's how do we sort of disconnect from the societal and cultural sort of definition of what is entrepreneurship? Because I used to subscribe to it. I didn't know any better. And only by going through that for myself, and I hope you don't hit rock bottom and have that sort of life existential crisis like I did. But it's never too soon and never too late to ask yourself that question, right? What is it truly that I want out of life and out of my business? And so that is kind of the stories, the real, the raw, the honest conversations that I share with listeners, conversations I have with other founders. Like my goal is to get them to cry. It's to like tell me your deepest, darkest secrets that you don't like you don't like admitting to anybody else. Because as entrepreneurs, we wear this like armor that everything is great and we're scaling and we're hustling and we're growing, and not enough of us, I think, are sharing, the deep cuts, the work in progress, the edits. When I was in filmmaking, for example, right, when you would see the first cut of a television show or a pilot or a movie that you're cutting, it was usually crap. It was trash, right? That's not what the public sees. They see the final product, but that's only born out of months, sometimes years of refinement and polish. That's the same thing as an entrepreneurial journey, right? It is a constant work in progress. It is a messy middle. So, that is kind of the message that I like to kind of share on the podcast. And, what I'm doing with some of my coaching clients, I'm developing a framework that I call the 6-figure brand blueprint. And it's really exactly what I shared with you. It is a blueprint that is tried and tested. If you are willing to trust the process, it will get you to where you want to go. It will help you not only get you where you want to go, but it will help you understand yourself and your business at a deeper level. And hopefully the goal is when you enjoy it and you're passionate about it, it's not work anymore. You're in flow. You are enjoying every single moment of it. You are not hustling towards this false sense of accomplishment or success or whatever it might be. So that's a few of the things that I'm doing today. That's what I believe in. And again, happy to share any and all additional insights with you, answer any questions. How am I doing on time, Brittany? Am I still good?
You've got
rolling?
6 minutes. Tell
Cool.
us a little bit more about that project you're starting up that I don't have a link for yet.
I know, because it's like stealth mode. So this is something that I think I've been coaching people before I labeled it coaching. When you run an agency, a marketing agency, you have a very defined scope of work. You're hired to run a social media campaign, build a website, run PPC. Quite frankly, I like to meet people where they are. And so for years and years and years, and my CEO is constantly kind of like riding me on it. She's like, "You're giving away like tens of thousands of dollars in strategy on this call that we're supposed to be just focusing on social media." And I'm like, "Yeah, but they need it. And it's like, it's right there and they can't see it. So I'm going to help them see it." Um, you know, I think coaching for me is probably most aligned with my purpose. Like I mentioned, it is something that I love to do because I love to help other people uncover and clarify their deep purpose and transform that and leverage that into a profitable business that does good and does well. So this program is really a framework that I've built. It is that discovery, identity, and growth model. And I've built out a curriculum that I run my clients through. And Steve, I know, is the guru in this, but I built some AI prompts to kind of help you through this, to kind of help coach you through this. But effectively, I'm determined to try to provide a method, a program, a system that I've been seeking and I've never found. And I've subscribed and probably spent tens of thousands of dollars on coaching and consulting and frameworks that never felt like me. And so my goal is to not just project what I think works, but give you the tools to figure out for yourself what it is that you want to build in your business and your life and how to do that. And so that's kind of, that's a little bit of it in a nutshell. I'm going to be launching it next quarter. Hopefully you'll listen to and subscribe to the podcast. I'll be talking about it there. And one of the last things I'll kind of share with you all, a framework that I have in there is called purpose. It's a purpose positioning framework. I think we have it on our website. You can download it as sort of a workbook and an ebook. But effectively, it's looking at a variety of different elements of you and your business. And again, when we talk about positioning, what does that mean? How do we differentiate ourselves in the marketplace, like I talked about? How do we make it known what we stand for and who we stand for? How do we attract our divine right client? And the way you do that is, again, not this race to the bottom in terms of price or product or features, but it's really understanding yourself as a person. It's understanding the people that you serve. It's understanding how you show up in the world, in terms of your unique voice and persona. And again, I think it's something that is needed now more than ever from businesses that are losing steam, losing, sort of differentiation in the marketplace because they can't clarify their story. They can't clarify their message. And I know that sounds overly simplistic, but you'd be surprised, spending a decade in narrative and movie making and storytelling, it's not the easiest thing in the world to tell your own story. But it's certainly the most important. When you can connect with people on a deeper and emotional level, you have to understand this is what people buy. This is what people use first. They buy an emotion first and logic second. So when you can connect with someone on a deeper emotional level, that's far more potent and lasting than anything else you can do or say. And not enough of us are channeling that superpower that we all have. We need to be willing to be vulnerable. We need to be willing to ask ourselves the deep and hard questions first, and then be willing to share that openly and honestly, because we are commoditizing ourselves. We are trying to appeal to anyone and everyone out there. And it's a very generic message. Instead of appealing to our tribe, our super consumer. And once you can do that, the rest will come. So that's a little bit of a nutshell in terms of frameworks I'm building, coaching programs I'm building, the podcast. And again, if anything, as a takeaway, I simply hope that you will just ask yourselves those tougher questions around what is it that I want? Why do I want those things in terms of building my business? And how am I going to get there? You gotta you've got to embrace the journey. The journey is the reward if you truly love what you do, and the rest will come.
I love that. That is awesome. All right, we're going to start the questions. So, Dominic and Steve, do you have anything that kind of resonated with you that you want to ask Chase? And please, if you are in the chat, go ahead, post some questions. I think this is a great space to ask some things in alignment with business building, right?
You go first, Steve.
All right. Well, first off, following Chase is going to be an impossible task because I didn't realize we needed our philosopher hats on. Um, but a lot of what Chase says has resonated fully, both from a personal perspective and from my business point of view. I think it is super important to understand what you're about before you launch head on into being about something. Because if those two find conflict, it's not going to end up well either for you or the business, or maybe not for both of them. So I really commend what he's promoting because it's at the core of where you should start. You know, if you're gonna go hiking, bring a map and a compass because GPS doesn't always work. You need to know. You need to have a path laid out. And Chase is I just again commend the idea that he's going to walk people through that because it doesn't come with a roadmap. Life doesn't come with a roadmap. You do need to discover things.
Love it. All right, Dominic, anything on what Chase said?
One thing that I have learned is that people do buy on emotion, and I've noticed that I can be accused of that as well. And I think if you feel something and you look at something and you think, oh yeah, that's great, but then the emotion attached to it isn't there, it just doesn't resonate. But I'm a very emotional person, so things are run on emotions for me, and I see that the same with people. And to use the Australian term, it's got to pass the pub test. So if it does, then everything flows really well, and that's how that's with also people that I meet. People that I meet, if I have an initial vibe to them, then it doesn't matter what they do, I'll find some way of working with them. So that sort of echoes the whole emotional status.
Yeah, I love that. So Chase, I'm going to dive in here. You really piqued my interest in a few different areas. So I am going to ask, and this isn't the right term, right? You use a few buzzwords. And it's not the right term because buzzwords has that negative intonation, but you use pivot, you use surrender, you use joy, you use value, know where you're going, right? You use these things that are intentional. You intentionally have a conversation, and these specific words bring an emotion with them, right? Each of those words. So I would love for you to talk about that. And, like you said in your podcast, I want you to cry because business makes me cry every day. Okay. It makes me cry every day.
Yeah, me too.
But that's that conversation. And when you're talking about those keywords, joy, values, pivoting, surrendering, could you just talk about how those are your words that you like to hang on to?
Yeah, I mean, look, they're certainly not my words, and let me just preface. Clearly, this is not a philosophy for everybody. This is a philosophy and a point of view that probably isn't for most in the business community, that roll their eyes and say, all right, that's a bunch of BS. That's a bunch of soft kind of fluff words. And that's okay. And that is not who I'm trying to serve. And that is totally fine. But the truth is this is born out of a personal journey, but it's bigger than that, because I can't tell you how many people I talk to on a daily basis, clients, friends, family. We all know somebody, plenty of people probably, that are unhappy in their current circumstance, whether it's a day job and a W-2, or whether it's the business that they're running and they feel trapped by, or they feel burdened by. And I think it's an epidemic. And it's scary. How did we arrive here? How did we arrive at a point where we are just programmed to just continue to chase growth at all costs and scale at all costs? Because that's what society demands. If you're not growing, you're failing. Or if you take your foot off the gas for a moment to kind of enjoy life and enjoy the process, then you're going to fall behind. So again, I am fully aware that a lot of people look at purpose as fluff, but I'll tell you the truth. Purpose is not fluff. It's actually fuel. And it's not just a feel good. It's an ROI. There is a true baseline ROI, and I will prove it, of how purpose helps businesses grow, drives business growth. You know, purpose-driven businesses outperform their competitors by 400% in the marketplace. These are broad studies by McKinsey, by Deloitte, by like major institutions. Okay. And when I say purpose-driven companies, meaning companies that really walk the talk, not just box check, that truly invest in their stakeholders, that truly do what they say they're going to do over time. And it's long tail. This is not like a quarter to quarter, right? You have to trust that process. They outperform their customers. Okay. People want to buy from, work for, and invest in companies that align with their values. Full stop. Right? So people are willing to pay 3 to 4 times more margin price point for companies that they truly believe in versus just a commodity product. Okay. So that's margin. You're making greater margin in your brand and on your product or service based off of a higher brand perception. Okay. Look at Apple, for example, right? Or Patagonia. They're not like technically like they're not making the most advanced phone beyond an Android or anything else, but it's a cult. It's an identity. And people are willing to ride or die and pay more for this product because of how it associates and kind of connects with them as a person. So talking about margin, right? Consumers are more willing to not only be loyal to, but recommend a brand that aligns with their values, right? So now you're talking about increasing market share. When you can start to kind of command a greater market share and greater brand loyalty and customer lifetime value over simply showing up authentically, why wouldn't you do that? Okay. Versus trying to just kind of be all things to all people. That is going to win in the marketplace. That's margin, that's market share. Let's get into employees, right? We've seen the Great Resignation. We've seen quiet quitting. More and more people, especially, and the statistics are insanely compelling when it comes to Gen Z. They want to work for companies that stand for something greater than just the job. And a lot of people are sacrificing taking a lower salary to work for a company that aligns with their values, because we work so damn hard. We're committing our entire lives. We don't have a third space anymore. It's home and work. And so we want to believe in the work that we're doing and who we show up for and what we do. And so if you want to attract the greatest minds and the best and brightest talent and retain them, you better be willing to kind of show up with purpose and a higher purpose, and connecting with values and connecting with people's kind of deeper emotions. Same thing with sort of recruitment and retention, right? Companies are bleeding billions of dollars a year in recruitment, right? Because they are churning employees over and over and over. It's no longer the days where you stay with a company for 10 or 20 or 30 years, like my parents did, right? It's a 1 year and done and you're jumping. But when you have a deeper meaning beyond the work, you're going to keep those people and those best and brightest minds at bay, right? So it's saving you countless hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in unnecessary recruitment and retention, if you can truly kind of bring them to the table for a deeper purpose beyond just doing the day job. Okay. So I've given you just kind of a few broad stroke kind of reasons of ROI. And I don't even know if I answered your question, but basically what I'm saying to you is joy and surrender and trust is, yeah, it feels good. Sure. And this is kind of like, it's a personal thing, whatever that is for you, but it's damn good for business.
Yep.
So it's strategic. Why wouldn't you choose that path?
Yep. And I'm going to make this really quick. So, because that leads into the second question I had. But you literally stated, oh, the phone's going to go off and yell at me. You stated showing up is going to be better than being the person who has the lowest pricing. And this is one
Yeah.
of the biggest business mistakes we all
Yeah.
make. Well, they can afford me. Well,
Right.
how many they can afford me's do you need to pay your bill when you're actually at a level of let's pay my bills with smaller clientele, more intentional clientele, because they align with who I am and I don't struggle with who my clients are,
Yeah.
right? That was something that you had said. I'm just going to answer the question
Do it.
because
Go
we
for
only
it.
have 2 seconds. So that answered the question, right? Making sure that you're not trying to be the lowest price on the market, making sure you're not trying to fight the market, but you're trying to show up as who you are. That's the best way to be. And I love that you had said that. And I love that you coach in that. So we are going to, Chase, I'm going to put Steve in the hot seat. And if you need to log off and go to sleep, we appreciate you coming and visiting us.
I'm
Any
going to hang
last
for a little
thoughts?
bit. I'm going to try and hang for a little bit because I want
All
to.
right.
I want to honor Steve and Dominic, who are also kind of inspiring guys, and so. But I appreciate the platform and take it away, Steve.
I pushed the
All
wrong
right.
button, guys.
Well, now I'm zoomed in, so.
I can't get you out.
He's on
Well,
spotlight.
I'll go ahead and. Oh, there we go. Hi, awesome. First, Brittany, thank you for having us on. Secondly, Chase, you're inspiring. Thank you very much. Um, I'm probably going to be way more practical and pragmatic about my pitch, but I do have a philosophical side, so it might leak out a little bit. So I'm Steve Soto. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for a company called the Breezy Company. And the short version of the Breezy Company is we are a marketing team for hire on a subscription basis, month to month, for businesses that can't afford to build their own team yet. So all of the entrepreneurs that have an idea, maybe just lost their job, maybe are doing a retirement job, maybe they just their business isn't to the point where they're hiring a CMO. They're not hiring a Chase yet because they're just kind of getting off the ground. We do all the practical stuff, all of the blocking and tackling. We'll build the content, we'll build your websites, we'll create social media and post it for you. And more importantly, we'll engage with your social media. So you're not just putting messages out there and not saying nice things to the people that say nice things to you. And then on my side of the business, because I'm a partner, and our partnership is kind of broken down into marketing strategy. That's my partner Josh. Marketing, collateral creation, and execution. That's my partner Savannah. And then myself, I'm the technical arm of the whole operation. So Josh thinks up wonderful ideas. Savannah makes content, and I make people be able to see it everywhere in the world. And then when they interact with it, collect the stats and move the data into various back-end systems. Because a lot of people think, oh, well, marketing is just having a nice email blast or a nice flyer or a nice website. And those things are important. But if you're not leveraging the attention span that you barely get from a consumer, and then capturing who they are and being able to interact with them on an ongoing basis, and more so on an automated basis, then you're missing why you're spending money. Because it's not about getting someone to go, oh, that looks pretty. It's about them going, that's interesting. Let me click this. Let me interact with it. And now you've got an ongoing conversation with them. You still need to do all the important stuff up front. Just as Chase was saying, you need to know who you are. You need to know what your message is. And then, we address a wide range of markets. I like to tell everyone that we do everything from cannabis to churches. Now, there are some that we shy away from. Basically, as partners, we all agreed we don't do anyone who has an agenda against someone else. So if you feel like you've got to make someone less to be more, then we're not helping you. If you've got to stand on the street corner with a sign that attacks, probably not helping you. There's plenty of other people that can help you. Not to say you don't have the right to have your opinion, because we do support that. We're just not the people to help you promote it. So that leaves us with, people that just want to get stuff done. They're very practical. I said that pragmatic word. They're starting out in business, or they're small, and again, just don't have a whole lot of energy, time, staff, sometimes not a lot of knowledge, and they need people backing them up. So the Breezy Company was started to be that backup. My partner had worked for large firms, the behemoths, and they worked on the largest accounts, names you definitely know because you can't avoid them. But he didn't like it because after a year, 2 years, sometimes 3 years, those big accounts say the dreaded words, we want to go a different direction. And now that giant team on your marketing company that you built up, supporting that behemoth brand, now you've got to tell 1,000 people, well, we don't have a customer anymore. And so we started Breezy because we could be stable. We could address the small end of the market, the entry level of the market, and give them credibility when they're facing launching into the world. A lot of times, we get these people that say, well, I already have a website. And we go out to the website and just little things like, well, it still says copyright 2023 on it. And it's like, you could just take it off. It doesn't have to say, you can just say copyright your company name. Don't mess with the year. Did you check the spelling? Because we did. And here's 16 spelling errors on your website. And then people, you're using a nice tool. It's easy to use, but it doesn't really do a whole lot for you other than put the words and the pictures up that you say to put up there. So you get little things like, well, it's not very searchable. I put all my images up there and they're called IMG13 and some number after it .jpeg. Well, that means nothing to the rest of the world. And in fact, the search engines know to ignore those numbers. So if you just rename your photos to be real names and you put tags on them that have a description as to what you're doing, you become more searchable. And most people don't know that. They're like, I'm busy trying to build my practice here. I don't want to become a search engine optimization person. I don't want to become a layout person. And oftentimes they're like, I'm really happy the photo went up. Forget the fact that it doesn't align with any other photo on the page. I'm just happy it's there. And so we do a lot of that back end nitpicky, dotting I's, crossing T's, and the engineering stuff that most business owners just don't want to get sucked into. So it's very practical. But we're seeing a big change in our business. If you'd asked me when I started with the organization's 7 years old, I started with it 3 years ago when I bought in as a partner, and I came in bringing the technical aspect of the world into the business. 3 years ago, AI was philosophical magazine postings and blog posts. It wasn't a day-to-day reality. So we see a lot of change in that some of our customers are going, well, why am I paying a human to create content when ChatGPT will do it? And to some degree, they are correct. And in the future, they will be even more correct. But right now, ChatGPT just wants to make you happy. So it's going to give you what you asked for. If you don't know what to ask for, it doesn't care. It's just going to fulfill your request. And so there's this more technical aspect of using ChatGPT where you really think about what you've asked, how you've asked it, to analyze what you've asked. And it will do this, but you need to know those processes. So when I say there's a lot of changes, yes, some customers are saying, well, I'll just use ChatGPT, or prospects are saying that. But others are saying, I now need training on the aspects that impact my business on AI. So for past 11 months, my team, my technical team, has actually been working with our customers and our prospects to talk about how does AI impact your business, or does it benefit? Can you benefit from it immediately? Is it going to make you a buggy whip manufacturer in the future? What are those earmarks that say this is something I should look out for? And honestly, a lot of people are like, I don't really understand Chat GPT. Now, many of the people that would show up to a call like this, they go, bullshit. I know what AI is, but that's because you're interested, you're engaged, you're seeking new knowledge. I can tell you the vast group of our citizenry does not do that. They're like, oh, it's AI. Or, look, I can make the cat do a backflip into the pool. It's like, those are fun, but they don't understand the depth of what AI is. And had a conversation with a person that had a bar the other day. And they're like, I don't need AI for my bar. And I'm like, okay, maybe you don't. But do you gather people's email addresses and do you send them promotions? Yes. Okay. What if you actually could tie the email addresses to what they purchased and then run specials that are hyper personalized to them, drawing them back into your bar? You find someone that drinks whiskey and you get a brand new whiskey that comes in, you could send them a hyper personalized message. And that's where even a bar could use AI. It's not that it's the sexiest thing in the world, but it's also not expensive. And the $19 a month will cover you for AI doing that. And how much cooler is it if the bar that you've been to remembers what you like to drink and then sends you a special for a one drink special for this new thing you might be interested in. So there, even at businesses that don't think they need AI could still benefit from it. It gets trickier when you get into companies that have lots of products and thousands of customers and things like that. I mean, I worked for a large scenting company. They make scents, they make candles, they make diffusers, they make all of this stuff. And they said, well, how are we going to use AI? And I said, well, why don't we start with understanding what our customers like and what they don't like? So we had thousands of records or hundreds of thousands, if not millions of records of orders. We had thousands of communications from customer service. We were able to use AI to figure out which products were causing the most upset. That was mind-blowing. There was one product that if we just never sold it again, would cut the customer service load by 40%. So they canceled that product. And in order to like keep those customers coming back, they sent a recall notice saying, you don't have to return the product. We know there's a problem with it. Here's a coupon for a future purchase. It won't be for that product. The amount of goodwill they got out of that was tremendous. People literally wrote in going, I got this coupon, and yeah, that device for my car is a piece of shit. But I really like the way things smell. So yeah, I'm going to use the coupon to buy something for my house. And we were able to retain customers. And Chase talked about losing people. The truth of the matter is if you can keep a customer happy, they're going to keep coming back. Just like an employee, you keep an employee happy, they're going to keep coming back. So using AI, even for a manufacturer, you go, candles, who the hell, AI and candles? So it can impact a lot of businesses and have significant dollar impact. So it's where our business is changing. Marketing, it's not just identifying the next suspect to market to, though honestly, right now most of the products are all about that. Um, the whole idea that you give free information to Facebook and Google and all those, it's like now they're going to be able to figure out what you need when you need it. Even we've all had suspicion that our phone's listening to us. Um, you know, Amazon is amazing at offering me something that I might actually be interested in. Didn't have to search for it. Just I was interested in it. It could figure out that 95% of the people that bought this tool and this product were interested in building, drones. And so they're offering me drone parts. And it's like, And Dominic knows about this one. When I met Dominic through business networking, I I ended up buying some software to learn how to fly a drone, a simulator, and I bought a controller. Well, Amazon knew about that, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, you've had this software, you've had this controller. Are you ready to graduate to the real thing? And they figured that out, and they marketed drones to me. So AI is going to be everywhere. The big companies are already using it. The small companies can also benefit from it.
I love that. All right, Steve, is there anything else you want to talk about before we go into Q&A? You've got some time left.
Well, just that, again, understanding how you look on the internet is very important. Knowing what you want to be is super important because that's going to set the benchmark, right? So Chase is spot on. You got to start with what you want to look like, but then how you actually look to the rest of the world is important. So one of the things we work with all of our customers with is the basic pillars of what your internet presence is. What's the quality? Always top of mind. Everyone gets that one and understands it. But then, how consistent are you? Do you deliver the message in a consistent manner, consistently on the platforms? Because people don't recognize you the first couple times, and by about the third or fourth, fifth time they see you, they go, "Oh yeah, this is the XYZ person. They are all about XYZ." So quality, consistency, credibility is what other people say about you. So going out there and getting testimonials is really important. I was so hesitant to ask for testimonials. And it was because in my mind, I thought people would reject me. Well, honestly, people that were going to say yes were enthusiastic to give me a testimonial. People who said no were very passive and just went no or didn't reply. So it's like, oh, I didn't have to get berated by everyone who said no. And I was very fortunate that I reached out to 10 people and 7 of them said yes and 3 of them were silent. So it's that credibility is what other people say about you. And then finally being visible. You don't want to sell pickles on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. Consulting services, yes. But at the same time, how many consulting gigs are you going to find on Instagram? It may be a necessity so that you have a footprint, but it's probably not the primary place in which you're going to get a serious business person going, I need a consultant for this. They're not looking there. So having the proper footprint, having the proper channels for your message, really important. And I think everyone forgets the most important channel, which is talk to your customers. Don't assume they're looking at your social media. Don't assume they're reading your generic newsletter. Write them, send them, real personal communication. And even if AI is generating it, make it personalized to what they've done with you in the past and what you've talked about. Every meeting I go to has an AI note taker. And I'll reply back to someone, when they've gone radio silent. And it's been 3 months, but I can reply back with details because my AI note taker. And so I'm not just having a, hey, how are you doing? I want to see if you're still interested. I can say something like, well, when we talked about how your CRM wasn't interacting with such and such in 3 months ago, has that improved? Did you find a solution? And then they'll actually reply to that going, hell no, I really need to do it. Or yeah, I did find a solution. And I could still have another interaction with them after that going, great, what was it? I love to learn. So it becomes, again, hyper personalized. And you got to talk to your customers. And we've got some friends that still send out cards. They literally send out physical cards to people. And I signed up for the service. I've gotten 100% response from a physical card. I know it's antiquated, and I'm shocked because I'm a nerd. I'm like, I'll send an e-card. No, the physical card showing up that's printed with colors, and they got to rip open an envelope. Oh my goodness, they're flabbergasted.
I love it.
I sent someone who was graduating from their master's degree program a congratulations card. I knew that they were graduating from their master's program 4 months earlier. I scheduled it so that it would show up right along the week in which they graduated. They were overwhelmed.
Love that, Steve. Thank you for sharing that. All right, Dominic and Chase, any questions that you have for Steve and inside of what he was talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think Steve, I think you paint a great picture in terms of what you do and how you help people show up in the world from their marketing. I mean, I learned a lot, and I am still learning a lot in AI and how it serves my business. And I would consider myself very much an amateur. I think it helps and saves time and energy. But I think myself and a lot of us are sort of vastly undervaluing how much the human input is just essential. And it becomes very, very easy to sort of mail it in. And that's my biggest fear, quite frankly, in terms of this AI slop age that we're coming into. There's a lot of gurus out there, and I'll even name drop one, Gary V, who I think is brilliant in some areas, but kind of a psychopath in others. No offense, Gary V.
He'd own that. He would own that.
Yeah, but I mean, I think when he's out there saying that people just simply as business owners need to just post more, put more content out there 10, 15, 20 times a day on every single platform to get ahead as a business. I think that is like a losing game, not only for, again, like mental psyche in terms of I have to be on social media. How much?
Right.
How can I run my business? And the only way to do that is through AI. Right. And so it's like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, we're forced to think I got to keep up with this race. And the only way to do that is through AI. And do we really need more noise in social media? Right. That's really not channeling our true energy and our voice and our positioning and our power, right? It's just more generic AI generated slop. So I think we're at this really interesting sort of cross section around business owners thinking that it's a necessity and they have to keep up and they have to be in that hamster wheel of more content, but being really, really prudent around, well, it doesn't really sound like me and it's not really accurate, but I got to put something out there. So what am I going to do?
Right. You use the word slop, and that's a good one for the people that are just spraying stuff out there. But I am witnessing the dumbing down of our society in real time.
Yeah.
And I call it the meh factor.
Huh. That's a good one.
Because people will type stuff in they get something, immediate response, great endorphin hit. Oh, look, it answered all my questions. I got to read this. And they're like, close enough, cut and paste. And that math factor is making it so that that's what we consume because that's what's being put out. And it is a self-destroying loop where the lower the quality of stuff that gets put out, the lower the quality of what's consumed, which means you're now going, that's the new baseline, you know? And it's just really important that, we try to hold on to our intellectual, philosophical, and scientific basis for information and not just go, meh, it's good enough.
Love it. All right, Dominic, how about you? What are your thoughts?
I I have to totally agree with what Steve said there. And also Barkley 107 Drones on my channel. He said, yes, I unsubscribe from companies that have no respect for my time. And I must say, I have to totally agree with that. And as I said earlier, when it came to what Chase said about the whole vibe thing, and I'll just go back to that again. I think, we all have a vibe, and we all basically feel something, and if it doesn't feel right, we just move on, and that's where the factor does come in. So I totally agree with Steve there. And yes, we did discuss about the drone software and the simulator software as well. So, and everything else that Steve has said, I do echo. So I really enjoy Steve. I don't know much about Chase. I've only just met him, but I, from what you've said there, I do enjoy what Chase had said as well. So, I think I've summed up pretty much.
Love it. All right, Steve, ready for my questions? There's no questions in the chat. There's definitely an agreement of like, how are we going to manage AI and where that space is. But I want to come into a few things that I heard you say, right? You said practical, send messages and engage, right? Making sure that that is intentional and that it's, yes, as everybody's touched on, we have to use AI in some aspect of how can we, pre-post this, how can we do these things, save some time, but then also having a human being manage that. So inside of that, you were talking about, that supportive outlook and the human touch, creating SEO in your website, which AI really can't do, right? How are you taking those steps and building those things? So training on tools is something also that your business takes on. Like, we get it. You might not long term be able, our goal is that we get you all of the customers and you can pay for our company to manage the behind the scenes of marketing. But as a company also, sometimes we have to shift with what are our bills, what is this, what is our economic standing. And so when you do that, to be able to train inside of tools that can support and help with the marketing side to, manage that a little bit better, I think is great. So tell us a little bit more about how, and Sarah Davis and I had this conversation earlier, when you're being told, and Chase touched on this, you have to do it this way, this way, this way, this way. There's guidelines to how you can show up correctly. And it could take 20 hours a week to manage one thing correctly, right? Which as business owners, we don't have time to do. And that's why we delegate. That's why we look at what are those other tools. So how would you tell somebody to manage that space? Like, how would you help a business owner really manage that space of what am I doing, delegating, and really what am I needing to just ignore so that I can thrive?
Well, that's a really good question because we face it all the time, particularly from a technical aspect. but sometimes from the content aspect as well. I always tell people, what's your intention for the quality of the output? And a lot of people very flippantly go, I want the best. And I go, I'd like to be able to rap like Eminem. I'm not going to put in the effort to be able to do that because he's mastered his art. I would love to paint like, a famous artist. Mm, everything I paint looks like a 7-year-old because that's, I think, where my art skills stop. So I asked them, what's your intention for this? You want to, perfect example is we take a lot of customers from spreadsheets into a real CRM. And when we do that, I have to tell them, this is not a pain-free process. This isn't, I drop your data into a CRM and now it's magical for you. No, there's learning that has to happen. And there's, you talk about delegation. You can delegate every task to a team like us, but we charge money for all of those tasks. Or you could take a couple entry-level certification classes. Entry level, don't finish the certification, take the basics. Now, 80% of what we do, you'll be able to cover in your sleep. So again, in what's your intention is really important. I love my cars and I like to drive them until they have no more useful life in them. But because of that, I'm willing to get the oil changed frequently, check for leaks, get up underneath the car and see if there's any I do all of that because I want to drive the car until it has no more useful life. Not I want to speed up the end of its useful life. So what's your intention? You've really got to keep that in mind. And so many people, they go, oh, I want to sell the most, bags of popcorn. Well, great. How are you going to get enough attention? What's the experience going to be to purchase it? Because you can't have someone stand in line for 20 minutes and still want your popcorn.
Yeah.
So what's your intention? And then what do you do to make that happen?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate that greatly. We are going to switch over to Dominic, and I don't know if you guys know, but Dominic is the man of the hour. He has the chat filled with his tribe, which is amazing. Dominic shows up intentionally all the time. He goes lives with all of his drone people. They are in the chat. Thank you guys so much for supporting us and supporting Dominic today.
Now
So
I've got to say a few thank yous firstly.
go for it, Dom.
Thank you to you, Brittany, for letting me join this. And I am serious. And this is probably the first time that I am really serious. So that's why I thought I'd come on here. But I'm usually a bit of a joke, have a couple of dad jokes. But
I'm gonna hold on 1 second. Chase, head out. I saw your message. We appreciate you so much.
I apologize. Lo
Thanks
siento,
as well.
Dominic. I owe you, my
I know
friend.
that feeling.
It's almost 2. I'm
Yeah.
but it looks
We
like you've got
you,
a powerful tribe behind you, man. So
yes.
thank you, guys. I'll see you soon.
No worries. Enjoy.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Bye, Chase. Have a great day.
I've got to say hello to Michael, Cool Cat, otherwise known as Mr. Kitty. Barkley is 107 Drones there. Can Fix Stuff is JDS, my Canadian friend. Captain Joe, USA drone flyer from Louisiana, one of Louisiana's finest drone pilots. Ronnie Roberts, God Bless America. Brett, who is under, I forgot his channel name, but yeah. We'll get back. Lambo Drive Zambo. Having a bit of a moment this morning. Joel, Mr. Skyfly, thank you. Multimedia megastar, Donald, Mudball Don, one of the greatest geniuses on YouTube. We also have Carlos, Mew Drone from Spain. Uncle Bill, one of the one of the finest chaps you'll ever. He's got a great bowling alley in Stuart, Florida, Sticks. And we also have David, AZ Drone Dude from Arizona, the great technology man he is, and Dave, D-Man. He's another great person. So thank you for all my people that turned up. And most people would know me in my chat. But I came on here to show a bit of a serious side to myself, because I'm usually a bit of a joker and come up with the dad jokes and that sort of thing. But I feel that I need to show a bit of a serious side, because I really want people to enjoy my work. And I have a couple of people in the chat. There's another person. Hello, Christy Gichigumi. She's an airline pilot that has been following me around. Another one of my supporters. So thank you for turning up. And I have sold a couple of, Captain Joe in there has a T-shirt of mine. Uncle Bill has a wine glass or one of those sort of glasses as well. But I came on here not for those people, but I am wanting to let my drone tube tribe to interact with some of the new people that I've met in the business, because I am here to facilitate a bit of fun and a bit of business and help the people along. I like to really get people to connect on not necessarily on a business level, but also on a personal level, because that's what I've been doing for 3-4 years on YouTube, where I've built a great support network of really close friends. And I would like to extend one family to another and see if we can all work together. I have T-shirts, I have calendars, I have just various topics that I can sell. But if I doubt there's anybody here that's going to be watching from Melbourne, Australia. But if there are, you can also get me to do custom backgrounds as well. But if you want to get photos of Melbourne, Australia, I'm happy to facilitate that as well. So,
well, and Dominic, I've got to say, you've got your tribe here, but
yeah,
you could connect others with your drone network like nobody's business. So, they showed up for you, but I know you show up for them. If someone says, if I need a drone shot of XYZ, you'd know someone anywhere in the world.
Oh,
That's
pretty much,
fantastic.
And Dominic, I would love for you to just talk about what it is, because a lot of people don't, and here is that conversation of showing up authentically and being in the space, right? And Steve's going to agree with me on this, but when you're marketing, having an aerial of your location, having an aerial of your team, having that idea skyline photo, right? Because we can all use everybody else's stuff. I mean, it's the internet, right? It's not ethical. You can, but you shouldn't. Go have somebody make you your own perspective. From my office view, this is what I see, right? You can utilize the drone inside so many things, as well as your weddings, right? Your company picnics, all kinds of stuff like that, where you can take and engage people inside of what you're up to and showing up authentically for who you are, what your vision is. And so I would love for you to kind of talk about that. You created a whole PDF, which is phenomenal, of how you how you find your right drone tech, right? I'd love to hear you kind of talk about that because people don't know. With AI, we don't know. And so when we can be told, this is what you're purchasing, this is the product that you can utilize, right? And how do you go about that? I think that that's a phenomenal space to be in. So I'd love to hear your perspective on that. And I'd love to get some of the people in the chat to kind of, talk about that as well. But what does that mean when you hire a drone tech?
Basically, what I would look for is you've got to look at the right equipment, you've got to look at the right certifications, you've got to look at the right temperament, the right personality. And you've got to, if you're out there and you just randomly pick something up, you've really got to look at how the person is, what they've done, and how they do it. Are they cool under a crisis? And if that really vibes with you, then you discuss it even further with them. And then you go out and watch them do what they need to do and see how it eventuates.
All right. Tell me, what is your favorite? What has been your favorite products you've done in the last 2 years? What's your favorite project you've worked on?
Hey, Philip. Well, I really I enjoyed hanging around with a couple of Australian drone pilots where we did a nice little skit in the Melbourne suburb of the Docklands, and we had some real fun there, and it was just something that was really enjoyable, and it's the sort of thing that if we did it properly, it would almost be great for a Netflix special. That's the sort of excitement that I felt. That's the sort of thing you could sell to Netflix, because you had five guys over 55, and we just sat there and had some fun. And that's the sort of television I reckon people would really enjoy. And I've done t-shirts and selling a couple of t-shirts, and then selling one to I didn't sell it. They just bought off me, and I didn't realize they'd bought off me until I saw it on their YouTube video. They sent me a message saying, "Oh, watch this video," and the chap has 300,000 subscribers, and I thought it was really enjoyable to see my work show up on a video. So I was happy about that.
Love that. What has been one of your so in the drone space, I know that where is one of your favorite places to work when you're running the drone? Who is one of your favorite, when I run my drone, this is my favorite space to be inside of?
Well, I actually now really love going down to ports, as in where the shipping containers are, and that is because of another guy that I am a panel member on occasionally, and I had to find where really good shipping lanes are, and it's not that far actually. And I've got a message here. Oh, hey Cliff, long time no see. And the whole understanding of it is, I then had a fascination with water and going around, harbors, bays, beaches. And I really enjoy that because, one, your adrenaline is really pumping, because if you hit the wrong button, you're going in the drink and that's the end of it. And I find that really exciting. And especially if you're standing right on the shore and you go all the way out, you've got really nobody in front of you, which is a good thing because you're not really allowed to be in front of a populous area. So it's good that you go out there. But unfortunately, with places like, well, for me to be Port Melbourne and places like that, is that the wind really whips off the bay, and wind and other birds are not conducive. So you've got to be able to use evasive maneuvers, and you've got to be able to work your way around those things. Seagulls are the main protagonists in this story at the moment, but if you go further inward, you get magpies, you get ravens, you get crows, and they can be a real nuisance, but they only work on one plane. So if you go that way, they can't really keep up with you because they've got to go. They don't move as swiftly as I can. So you learn those evasive maneuvers after a while.
So in order to avoid the birds, you go up.
Straight up, yeah, quickly.
Got it. I love it. All right. So Dominic, when you're doing your photos, I love, like you're talking about the bay, kind of seeing those things. What is one of the things that you're looking at? And I know that a lot of times the cameras are up there just taking those photos, but what are you looking at when you pick that perfect shot? Like behind you, right? Your background, you've got so many perfect shots behind you.
Mm-hmm.
What are you looking at when you're picking those perfect shots to share with your clients?
What I'm looking for is something that really speaks to my heart, speaks to my emotions. So what I pick out is I go around and look and find something. And if I see something that I like, then that's the sort of thing that I'll look for. And I'll walk around and I keep walking and think, oh, there's nothing here. And then suddenly something will just lob into my into my vision. And then I'll find a spot where there's very little people and then work my way through that. So
Love that. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Dominic. All
mhm.
right. So you picked 12 perfect photos and you
Mhm.
have built a calendar out, which is phenomenal. How has that experience been? Because really, right, when you're looking at, photos in a calendar, that's a great way to promote your business. That's a great thing and a great use of photos, right? Taking the drone and saying, okay, these are the photos that we've taken this year, and here is how we're going to push that business in January, each of those things. So how was the building of the calendar for you? How did that work out?
Well, it has been, I've just put the link in the chat for everybody. And it's been a one of an interesting thought. I'd been trying to put one up for a while, and then I did it and then went nah, and then doubted things, and then I put it up and I started getting traction, and people started buying them. So I thought, well, I must be doing something right if people are interested in buying it. So as I said, I've also on that site. I've also got other T-shirts and other things where I just make fun of certain things of life and a bit of mockery. And I feel that there are certain things in life that sometimes you just have to make fun of,
Mm-hmm.
and office politics and other various themes and topics behind that seem to help. And I've gone to it and made a few, and if anybody wants to purchase, I'm not begging, okay? I'm not begging.
No, I think that's a really great thing, Dom. You have, you get to really express yourself, and that's something we've talked about this whole hour, right? Is knowing who your tribe is, expressing yourself for who you are. And so you get to go out, you get to do fun drone things, help clients get these great, awesome photos. And then you get to come back into your office and you're like, hey, you know what? My creativity today is really building, right? You get to build a little bit of fun and humor into the day because, and we do this when we do our co-working space, right? We all go in and we're like, are people serious?
Yeah.
Did that really happen in my day? Please listen to me and tell me if I'm crazy. And so I love that you have built, and if nobody caught it, Dominic is in Australia. So you have built a space around like that dad humor, Australian. There's a little bit of politics mixed in with that, but tweak on life, right? Where it doesn't always have to be so serious. It doesn't always have to be those things. And so having a coffee cup that is gonna make your day, right? So I think that's phenomenal that you have that that different side. Here's my drones, here's my photos, but also take this beautiful photo and throw it on a shirt. And here's a joke that you can put on a shirt too. So I think that's a great approach to how you kind of balance your day and really reach your tribe, right? So thank you for sharing that. Steve, do you have any insight or feedback? I know you've known Dominic longer than I have. Did we miss anything in this conversation?
Well, it's kind of interesting. He is a joker. But what stood out for me is he is a rock. He shows up. I mean, just look at how the chat room filled up. That's because he shows up for other people. And we're in a networking group, and he's typically one of the first people in. He's always got a kind word to say about all of our different businesses. And it's really, you know, it's almost like I wish you did more than drones, because I'd love to find more ways to work with you. Because you're a rock, and so I really appreciate that. And I know you take your drone flying very seriously, but at the same time, you've got the heart of an artist. Finding that lighting, finding the positioning, finding all those things that just have to be right to make a photo or a video that pops for people. Yes,
Yeah,
like
and
that.
especially the background. Yeah,
Yeah. And
that was
he's
perfectly
always
timed.
and you've got so many of them. I mean, I've got one of his calendars,
Mm.
and I really enjoy it. It's at a place where I have to see it every morning when so I was like, I put things on it. And I wasn't a paper calendar person for a long time, but when I saw what he was producing, I was like, yeah, you know what, that's worth having on the wall.
I love it. All right, I am going to wrap up this live. Thank you, everybody who has joined us. and had that conversation with us, please go connect with Chase, connect with Steve, connect with Dom, really build your network, and know that we are here for you guys. We appreciate everything that you all bring to support businesses, showing up, watching our lives, and thank you so much just for being here. I appreciate you gentlemen so much. I look forward to the next time we get together, and have a great day, everybody.
You too. Thank you.